Hello class, go ahead and update your table of contents. We have cell theory on the left side, page 23. Free choice output, page 24. I will give you a moment, but feel free to pause it if you need more time. On page 23, go ahead and head your paper, the cell theory. From here, I want to emphasize the word theory. A lot of people think, oh, a theory just is a guess. Not in science, actually. Scientific theory, in order for something to be called a theory in science, that means that it has had repeated tests, repeated trials through scientific method over the years by multiple scientists who agree and say this is accurate information. So what I'm about to tell you are three main ideas that all scientists agree on. That obviously have to do with the cell. So the first one, so we're just going to number our paper. Number 1, all. Let's underline that, because anytime you say all in science or really in anything, it's kind of a bold statement. All living things are made of cells. So our last unit, we talked about the levels of organization. Well, if you go back to the levels of organization, this is the smallest unit of life. So all living things are made of cells. There might even be some living things that are cells, and that's it. They're a single cell. That's entirely possible. Cells are made of organelles, which are made of macromolecules, and so on and so forth. But this is where our unit is taking us. We're going to learn about this. Okay, so number 1, scientists agree all living things are made of cells. Let's draw a picture because, you know, I'm a visual person. Let's draw some living things. Maybe we have a carrot, because carrots are cute. How do I draw a carrot top? Let's see. Okay, this is a really bad carrot. Let's give him a smiley face so he's a happy carrot at least. Let's draw a flower. Why not? And maybe we draw an amoeba, which is a single-celled organism, kind of like the Amoeba Sisters. So this is just to show you variety of life. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. All of these are living. They are all made of cells. Okay. Second, all, again, there's that word all, which is scary to say out loud because it seems so definitive, but it is. All cells come from, sorry, let me silence my, okay, from pre-existing cells. So obviously we don't know exactly where the first cell originated, but we do know that every cell since has come from a pre-existing cell that was already there. So let's give a rough drawing of this too. We have a cell. Let's give it this random shape. All cells have a nucleus. And they've got some other random stuff in there. Lots of random stuff, which you'll learn more about later. They're called organelles. Let's say this is a cell. A cell eventually is going to go through what's called mitosis, where it literally splits in half. It makes a copy of itself, of everything on the inside. Okay, it makes a copy of itself. And it literally splits from 1 to 2. Now, even our cells in our body go from 1 to 2. They're constantly splitting. That's how we grow. That's how we heal. Sometimes there's even bad things that happen when cells split uncontrollably. That's actually what cancer is, when cells just kind of keep splitting without stopping, and they create tumors, masses of cells. But for the most part, it's a good thing. One cell to reproduce simply splits and becomes 2 cells. 1 to 2. This is also called asexual reproduction sometimes because it doesn't require 2 to tango. It's just 1 cell reproducing on its own. The third component of the cell theory that all scientists agree on is that cells are hang on. The structural and functional unit of all living things. So what that means is that it's what provides the structure, it's what gives us our shape. It's also what helps us function. It allows us to stay alive, to maintain homeostasis, my favorite word. Cells are what do that for us. They're what process our organic molecules when we eat them. They're what allows us to be living and existing and going on, right? So that's what gives us our structure, our shape, and our function. So let's draw some bricks, because you could do bricks or blocks. Either way, it's a similar concept that cells come together to make a single entity. So we are made of cells. So like a stack of bricks put together, or Legos, or blocks. So especially if you were to zoom into like a leaf, for example, the cells inside of a leaf actually don't look that different from the way that these bricks look. They're stacked on top of each other, and they're very like organized and structured, and they each have their own little wall of protection. So this is kind of an analogy, but it's also more accurate than you might think. But let's say we draw a human just to be safe, so we make sure we understand. This is turning out to be more like a gingerbread man, but that's okay. We're getting close to Christmas. That'll work. Okay. So each one of these dots is representative of the fact that cells are making us. They come together and they form who we are. So we'll call that cells. Now, if you want to give it a face, you can. Maybe it's a little, I don't know if it's less creepy or more creepy with the face. I'm going to go with more creepy. Okay, so those are some pictures. I drew my own pictures, but you can draw whatever you want to represent these things. I just think pictures are helpful. You can even add color. Color actually goes a long way to help things stick in your brain, help information stick in your brain. So feel free to add color. So those are the 3 components. That's the cell theory. All living things are made of cells. All cells come from pre-existing cells, and cells are the structural and functional unit of all living things. I want to make a note of 2 very important names, people who contributed to our wealth of knowledge and understanding about the cell, about cells in general. The 2 people, let's see, how do I want to label this? Let's just say 2 important, sorry, the camera is shaking. It's on a stand and it shakes when I write. Apologies. 2 important scientists. All right. The first one to note is Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke actually was the first person to observe cells. he actually looked at them inside of in a cork, a piece of cork, which is part of a tree. And he actually named it a cell. So he's the first person. He actually said that it reminded him of the little rooms that monks live in, little chambers that they live in, and those are called cells. So that's where he got the name from. And it kind of looking at the bricks, it kind of, you know, goes along with that whole concept of, oh, it kind of looks like a bunch of little rooms. So that's where he got that name from. The second person to note, oh, this name is a doozy, Anton van Leeuwenhoek or Leeuwenhoek. It's a V sound, but it's written with a W. Leeuwenhoek. Crazy spelling, sorry. This guy is actually the first person to see, so the cork, he was looking at like dead cells. Leeuwenhoek was the first person to actually see living cells. He actually created a microscope. So he created, I'll show you what that microscope looks like later. Created a microscope to view living cells. It's a very interesting design. I'll have to show it to you. It's pretty cool. This was around 1660. And this actually was around 1670 sometime. So not that much later. There were many other people involved in the cell theory. Schwann, Snyder, all these other people. But these are the two names that I want you to know. Robert Hooke, first person to observe cells in a cork, named it a cell. Anton van Leeuwenhoek created a microscope to view living cells. It's funny, when he first saw them, he actually called them, I feel like it's worth writing down. First time he saw them, he was like, oh, look at these wee beasties, which was a fancy way of saying little animals, because they were like moving around and there was all this activity, and he just thought that was so cool. So he called them wee beasties, wee meaning tiny. Okay, that's it for those notes. Over here is the free choice output. So obviously, you know the drill. You're going to use the free choice menu on page 1 of your notebook to pick a choice from. Examples align over here. So an example of A is here, B here, C here, etc. You've done this before. Keep up the good work. Put in maximum effort. That's going to go here. I want to see high quality stuff. You are going to be sending me a picture of this eventually, so make it quality. All right. Take care. Maintain homeostasis. Cool. Bye.